Hi everybody, my name's Andy Scott, and today I'm going to talk about the duality of the female role in Hispanic literature. And what I mean by that is generally in Hispanic literature, the role of the female is only portrayed in two different ways. And one way is of the very pure and virgin-like woman, the image of the virgin, and the second one is of the whore or the floozy. And the connections to this, especially in Latin America, derived themselves from the arrivals of the conquistadors. And one of the images that we had with the arrival of the conquistador was that of La Malinche, or Doña Marina, who was the first female on this continent that could interpret for the conquistadors and help them in their efforts to conquer Western civilization, for lack of a better term. So we'll talk about La Malinche like she is, and then the other side of the representation in Hispanic literature is that of a woman who's pure and virgin-like, and of course we get those connections through the conquistadors and the introduction of Catholic religion in this part of the world. So we have the two female roles, and I've mentioned La Malinche and of course the Virgin, or the monja, which would be the nun. And there are two more modern examples of adaptations of those that I'd like to discuss. Now, one is the Malinche that I discussed. And historically, this is a real woman who had a connection to all Hispanics in North America. La Malinche, or Doña Marina, was the first interpreter that the conquistadors encountered on this continent. And she was really important in the facilitation of the efforts of the Spaniards, which of course spread Christianity and the influence of the King and Queen of Spain, Ferdinand and Isabel, throughout this continent. So she is generally regarded, because she bonded with the Spaniards and interpreted for them, and actually ended up being sold off a couple times and had relationships with a couple of them. She's kind of traditionally identified with the whore or the dirty person. So we have that example. And then the other side of the coin, of course, is the purity or virgin-like image that we get mostly through the Virgin Mary in the Bible. And a unique adaptation of that is the Virgin of Guadalupe, which is very, very common, a very, very common icon here in North Texas, and especially with Texas Hispanics. The Virgin of Guadalupe has actually culturally almost taken the place of the nun or the Virgin Mary throughout society in these two roles. Now I want to talk about Isabel Allende. She's a famous Hispanic author, Latin American author, and she's probably one of the most famous feminist authors that has written about and extrapolated upon those two roles. And she really puts a lot of emphasis on explaining the connection with La Malinche and just how controversial her relationship was with culture and society because of her interacting with the conquering Spaniards. So there we have it. The duality of the female role in Hispanic literature has pretty much always been limited to a very pure image like that of a nun or a virgin, and then a dirty image, that of La Malinche or a whore. And that's all we find through most Hispanic literature, is a really limited role. And later in society and history, when writers such as Isabel Allende came along, and they had credit and things of that nature, they started to expand a little bit on some of these roles and really just address the fact that that's all that women had been limited to in Hispanic literature. So I hope you learned something today, and go out there and read some Hispanic literature. It's fun. Thank you.